Are there specific issues, you mentioned on the variety of fronts, are there specific issues that you think you're uniquely, your experience and your abilities gives you a unique perspective on some of those challenges?
Well, the school system we have is primarily minority, high poverty. 86% of the kids that attend Chicago Public Schools are children who live in poverty. We've got issues like state funding that need to be addressed. We've got issues at the local level where we've got a mayor that believes that closing schools primarily attended by poor minority children is the answer to improving our schools, is the way to go. I come to this election with about 18 years of teaching experience and another 12 years working full-time with the union. I spent 8 years in Washington, D.C., working for our national parent, the American Federation of Teachers, and got a chance to get a national perspective on where unions were being proactive, where they were making a difference, where they were using the power of their membership in a positive way. Too often we hear people say, oh, the union is only about protecting incompetent teachers. It is absolutely not about that. We absolutely must protect the due process rights of our members, but in my first term in office, it was a personal goal of our entire team that we changed the image of the Chicago Teachers Union. Primarily it was seen as a hardline, bread and butter only union. And we said we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We're a union of professionals. We need to be as strong on the bread and butter issues and on the professional issues, and that you can do both, and we proved that you could. One of our first accomplishments was changing the state law. Chicago Teachers Union had its bargaining rights restricted in 1995 by the state legislature, primarily Republican-controlled governor and legislature. We were stripped of our rights to negotiate over such time-honored union issues as class size and staffing and layoffs and a host of issues. We campaigned the first time around on a platform of restoring our bargaining rights. I had 2 meetings in three years as union president. I had 2 meetings with the mayor. The first was his little congratulations, blah, blah, blah. The second one was going over there and saying that if he wanted to see real change in the 600 schools in Chicago, then he needed to win the hearts and minds of the frontline professionals. And without the rights that other teachers had in the rest of the state to negotiate over things like class size and staffing and the whole range of issues that were gutted from our union contract, he would never have that partnership. So we saw it as a professional issue because we needed to have the right to have those topics on the table. We believed that reform was being done to us, not with us, and that the key to doing it with us was having the rights that every other teacher in the state enjoyed, and having a say. That too often we were the victims of the reforms in Chicago. We went from reconstitution to re-engineering to intervention. We've got probation. We've got a whole range of issues, and of course the most recent reform is an abdication of their responsibility, closing down struggling schools and walking away from them, turning the money that the district should be getting over to charter schools, to contract schools. And I believe that that is an absolute abdication of leadership responsibility here. The second thing we accomplished in our first term, in addition to changing the state laws, getting those rights back on the table, getting them into the contract and enforceable. The second major accomplishment, I believe, was our arrangement with the Partnership School Project. When Mr. Duncan closed 3 schools, arbitrarily, unilaterally, the parents and kids heard about it that night on television, the Chicago Teachers Union moved into action. We immediately decried those changes. We brought hundreds of people to board meetings. We went to every hearing decrying the strategy of closing down low-performing schools. Children's lives were put in danger. They had to walk further to the next nearest school. They had to cross gang lines. They were put in danger, and it was a travesty. And the union at the time, under our leadership team, insisted that we create an agreement that would prevent such closures unless and until schools that were in danger because of academic achievement had additional resources, had time, and that the frontline professionals in those schools had more of a say over the improvements that would make a difference in their schools. So we had the CEO of the Chicago Public Schools agree to a deal where he would close no more Chicago Public Schools unless and until they had a chance to become what we call the partnership school, where the union played its role in providing support, resources, and ongoing facilitation of the kinds of changes that the teachers in those schools thought were the best approaches for the kinds of situations that they were dealing with. Since that time, there have been 14 additional schools closed. We created a deal, no additional schools were closed. The current leadership attacked us for being too interested in reform and professional issues, and they failed to see that the partnership agreement that we generated, while it did focus on the union's role and the frontline professionals' role in improving their schools, was, in a nutshell, a job-saving opportunity, because we didn't want to see those schools closed, we didn't want to see those kids displaced, those staffs displaced, and what has happened since we left office was a complete dismantling of that agreement. Mr. Duncan has the right to close any school at any time, and has closed over 14 schools, with many more on the chopping block, because we've got this wonderful Renaissance 2010 travesty where they intend by 2010 to have 100 new schools, and they're almost halfway there.